time for another Bootleg Wrestler special here on the Big Daddy D Reviews. Pro wrestling figures are some of the easiest action figures to rip off, mainly because they all pretty much look alike, just with different haircuts or with masks. And indeed, we've covered many fake wrestlers throughout numerous Poundland specials I've done in the past. And now, they're back with a vengeance. By the way, I just want to give a quick shout out to Super Mastodon, who pointed me in the direction of some of these bootlegs. He's also the creator of the all-caw wrestling fan site as well, so be sure to take a look at that. First up, from our old friends at Poundland, we've got the Super Wrestling figures. Here we've got an old favourite making his return, Tiger George, from one of our previous Poundland specials, and one of the few Poundland wrestlers to actually make an appearance in all-caw wrestling. This time round, Georgie's a little bit smaller, and he doesn't have as much articulation as before, as he can only now move his head. Other than that, it's the same figure as before, and he comes with a bit of a gait for some reason. His tag team partner, or rival, depending on what you're doing with these toys, is Cara, or Mysterio, depending on which wrestling program you watch. To be honest, they've done a pretty good job with making his mask look almost exactly like what he wears in real life. But then again, I suppose it's easier to bootleg a masked wrestler than trying to bootleg one with a recognisable face. This is the reason why Rey Mysterio was one of the most bootlegged wrestlers out there. More on him later. But it's the accessory that Poundland Sin Cara comes with that's a bit of an odd choice. A chainsaw? Since when has he been known for swinging a chainsaw around, either as Mystico or as Sin Cara? Okay, so packing a chainsaw in with a wrestler isn't anything new, we've seen it done before, but surely some attempt should be made to match a suitable accessory with the figure. Considering how injury-prone Sin Cara has been since he started his run in the WWE, you would have thought that the accessory in the next pack would be more suitable for him, i.e. a crutch and a plaster foot cast. The figures in this next pack include a bald shouty man, who I'm sure we've seen in one of these bootleg packs before, but this time he appears to be shouting for a good reason, considering that blood appears to be pouring from his face. Ugh. Just take a look at that face. Ugh. It's okay, I'm sure none of you felt like sleeping tonight anyway. The second wrestler in this pack is the bootleg Scott Steiner with the terrible spider tattoo that we've seen in a previous Poundland special. Luckily, they've done a better job with the paint application this time, so it doesn't look like he's got his flies open. As for his accessory, well, it's a really flimsy ladder that falls to bits just by looking at it. Next up, it's off to the dollar store, where we've got a bootleg of another masked wrestler. This time, it's Kane, wearing his old one-sleeved costume from the late 90s. But instead of painting his costume red, the bootleggers decided to use yellow instead. It's the Big Yellow Machine! Also, instead of Yellow Kane having a mask, they just decided to paint his face as well. Good job there. Next up, another wrestler from the Attitude Era, now in bootleg form. Do you smell what the Jock is cooking? Yes. Yes, I do. It's the smell of cheap plastic and disappointment. But he gets off lightly when you see the other figure he came with. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Scott Austin. I assume this must be Steve Austin's lesser-known deformed half-brother or something. Although, considering that he has fingerless gloves and a horrible-looking green tribal tattoo on one of his arms, this could have been repackaged as a knockoff Goldberg as well. So yes, now you can relive the legendary rivalry between the Jock and Scott Austin. Yeah, that's subtle, bootleggers. Really subtle. I mentioned before that Rey Mysterio was often a bootlegged figure. Well, here we go with a couple of clones of him. First up, Rey Mysterio, minus all his tattoos, alongside two identical wrestlers who I assume are both supposed to be Triple H, despite the fact that John Cena and Batista are on the packaging. What, so having 3 different wrestlers in a 3-pack set was too much to ask then? Another way of telling that this is a bootleg is the hilariously bad attempts to translate into English, as the package claims that this is Best Playset, and that you are encouraged to collect the all. Also, the bit of text under Fake Mysterio's feet informs us that this is a new type of puzzle. So either the bootlegger's first language is English, or they genuinely don't have a fucking clue what a puzzle is. We get another Fake Mysterio in this pack too, a knock-off of the WWE Flexforce figures, but he's the only recognisable looking figure here. I'm guessing that the rest of them are supposed to be Triple H, Randy Orton and Batista. But that's hard to tell when it looks like the faces are fucking melting. There's your certificate of quality right there, folks. And here's a photo of an alternative pack, which keeps Mysterio and Batista, but has Triple H and Orton replaced with Undertaker and someone who I assume is meant to be Kurt Angle wearing a nappy. Sorry, diaper for my American viewers. Oh, but that's okay. These figures contain Ultimate Warrior power, yay! Despite the Ultimate Warrior himself not being featured in either of the packs. But then again, when the rest of the packaging claims that these figures are the toy model of a virtual reality, and that invites you to be filled with the tournament stage of intense emotion, it's clear that it's just sprouting a load of bollocks. Ah, but we're not done with Triple H just yet. Next up is this freakish looking abomination, which appears to be a knockoff of one of the WWE ring giants, that depicts the cerebral assassin as having bright pink hair and a bright purple Village People moustache. This package also comes complete with a cheap and nasty replica of John Cena's old WWE title that is made out of the worst plastic imaginable. Next up, we've got two potential bootlegs in one toy, as we have a fake Hulk Hogan head stuck on a fake He-Man body. You can tell that this body is a rip-off from the 80s Masters of the Universe figures, due to the closed fist in one hand and the splayed fingers on the other, which would have been used to hold weapons. Hulk's wrestling tights also look suspiciously like He-Man's old furry loincloth that's just been painted a different colour. And oh yes, we've got the same squatting legs as what the old He-Man figures used to have as well. This means that the legs don't actually bend, but considering this is meant to be a Hulk Hogan figure, that's fairly accurate, I suppose. This He-Man bootleg was also used for our next couple of wrestlers as well, although the legs appear to be a bit different and don't appear to squat as much. The one on the right could very well be an attempt to bootleg the Ultimate Warrior, despite the fact that he has pink hair and no face paint for some reason. But this Ultimate Warrior figure gets off lightly, considering the sheer nightmare that is the fake Bret Hart figure. This head was obviously intended to be for a much larger figure, but the bootleggers obviously thought, fuck it, and forced it onto this much smaller body to create this hideous Frankenstein's monster type effect. And just when you thought you'd seen the worst bootleg wrestler ever, along comes Scott Hall. Yeah. It looks like they were trying to make a bootleg Homer Simpson figure, but then changed their mind halfway through. And yes, his hair is purple as well. And that's pretty much it for the bootleg wrestling toys, for now at least. I'm sure there's plenty more out there in their pink-haired, purple-moustached glory. To be honest, it's a pretty hard formula to fuck up, so some of these aren't all that bad, I suppose, especially for the low prices they'll be going for. I wouldn't recommend them for kids who actually know they're wrestlers, but if you've got a kid that just wants to have his toys beat each other up without any ties to WWE or TNA, then they'll just work out fine for a few hours or so, before they break and the sharpened piece of plastic pierces their retinas. Hey, just tell them that Santa sacked all his elves and now gets his stuff from Poundland, and all will be fine. Probably. This is the Big Daddy D, signing out.